Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976 allowance is made for fair use for purposes, such as criticism, comment, news, reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that may otherwise be infringing.
Nobody can say where Sebastian would have met a third party, where Sebastian would have had stranger danger. Oh, well, what if he had a phone? Okay, so what if? You're throwing a lot of things with not a scintilla of information. Yeah, anything's possible, but what is the probability of it happening in this child's life? Him having a second phone would imply that he has a good connection with friends, that they talk about this type of stuff, and they all agree to it, that he's missing the friends part. He's not going to think of this stuff by himself. Well, maybe he snuck on the computer. Why would he sneak on the computer? Yes, normal teens do that. But when you're autistic, their kryptonite is video games, not playing on social media with their friends. So where's the third party being introduced? That is the puzzle piece that's missing. Why is it missing? Because it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. And yeah, we could opine that his father had something to do with it. Until we found out his father was working. Until we realized his father was on camera. Now that eliminates that possibility. That is not always true. I hate when people think all autistic people are dumb and exactly alike. Actually, we learned very much different, Mary. We learned that autistic children have their own tics. We learned that a lot of them are very, very smart. But the one thing that, out of everything that I learned, and I say this all the time, but everything I learned about the autistic child is that they're, not everyone has the same tics. You know, the same, you know, where they're, you know, OCD-ish, I call it ish, about, you know, one thing or another. Like, for example, Sebastian's is putting shoes on. Another autistic child may not wear shoes at all. Another autistic child may not like the taste or the texture of a certain food. All of their tics and meltdowns and everything like that is different from one autistic child to another. But the one common theme that I find from autistic, I look for similarities, you know, to follow things. And out of everything, even the outbursts, like their meltdowns are all over different stuff. Some get overstimulated, some may not. And some may get very frustrated and high maintenance and may have a meltdown or a full-blown explosion being overstimulated. Some may not. But the one key ingredient from autistic child to autistic child that I've seen, if I could compare anything and say this is more in line, it's the video games. It's the video games. The kids, the autistic children and adults, because the autistic child does grow up to an adult, and those adult high-functioning or non-high-functioning adult autistic person still has a, you know, I almost want to call it a fetish, but it's not really a fetish. It's like, that's obviously the wrong word, but like a need for video games. Am I only working on this case? We just covered 2 other cases that I had been working on. The cases are slow. There's not a lot of updates. We just did an update on Crystal Rogers, an update on Rex Heuermann earlier. Where, you know, Leilani Simon's trial's coming up soon. Alec Murdaugh's appeals coming up. So we cover a lot of things, but yes, this is, I only dive deep into one case, and I don't know if you know how much, obviously you don't probably want to research that much, but it takes a lot, okay? And there's just me. When we were at the beginning, it was my whole entire team up until 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, which is what gives us this stuff like ingrained up here. But you know, you're not, if you don't like the commentary, you don't have to be here. It's called being an adult. Going on, you know? It's nearly all children of younger generation. My grandson, his girlfriend both play video games. My autistic grandson is high functioning. These kids have their own personalities. They aren't all the same. Absolutely not. Now that's the one thing that that's been drilled in my head. And the therapies, you know, I don't think people realize there are therapies, but it's still very hard. One of the things that I think was very difficult, we have to understand, because this was impressed upon me, is that the puberty aspect of autistic children is very, very, very difficult on the family. And it's even more difficult on the autistic child. And it just so happens that this is kind of where we are with Sebastian Wayne Drake Rogers. He's in this puberty stage, and it had to have been very difficult on his family as well as it was on him. And we have to look at that, because I never really explored that too much. You know, maybe that needs to be for those that have autistic children that have already gone through puberty, you know, I don't want any kind of, you know, whatever you're willing to share with me to talk about the difficulties. Obviously, I keep things confidential, so if you do provide me a little personal insight, I'm not going to blast or anything like that. It's really for my own personal knowledge, because that's one thing I haven't explored. I know that it's been difficult on the family and child, but I'm still not, I mean, I can kind of understand some aspects of it just by, you know, biology and stuff like that, but, you know, do they have more meltdowns? Is that what it is? Is it, you know, the body changing and it freaking them out and it's triggering something? I guess that's really what I'm trying to figure out. What does it do? What are the issues with the family and the child? I guess it is as respectfully as possible, you know, something like that. Something bad happened to Sebastian and they could not get him medical help because they would be reported. That's what I'm kind of thinking.